Sarwan selected the playlist, so it is for you.
No. Up until then. Not now. No more. Finish. Ali is back. Assalamu alaikum. 104. I'd love to meet this granny.
Alhamdulillah.
Love to meet the granny. She's got stories. She can tell you stories. She can definitely tell you stories. Okay. Salams, please read my message.
Salams would like to wish our dearest Ma Halima Ahmad a very happy 105th birthday. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant her many more happy, healthy years. Ameen. Words cannot describe our love for her, and we are so blessed and grateful to Allah for her. From her son, Yaqub, daughter-in-law Shanaz, grandchildren Mubashara, Munawwara, and Hassan, also great-granddaughter Arshia.
It's the same Ma.
Okay.
It is. I know the family. Right? I know the family. It is the same Ma. So 104, 105.
Both are incredible milestones.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah Nishal, and to the sponsors. I'm going to send my driver later to collect. This is the Quran Sharif.
The Breakfast Rush, brought to you courtesy of the Willow Tin Group, at the forefront of innovation, and one of the leading competitors in the South African FMCG market.
There's nothing quite like the taste of a traditional family meal, and at the heart of every great dish is a key ingredient that brings it all together. That ingredient is sunflower, pure sunflower cooking oil, made from only the finest sunflower seeds. It's a perfect way to enhance the taste of your family's favorite foods. Sunflower cooking oil is more than just oil. It's the key to bring your family together over a delicious meal and making every bite taste better. Remember, the key ingredient to a great family meal is sunflower. Tradition just tastes better.
The views and opinions expressed by the guest and presenters of Radio Al Ansar are not necessarily the views and opinions of Radio Al Ansar and the Al Ansar Foundation.
Every career comes with a big question. Should I follow my passion or should I choose financial security? This Heritage Day Career Campus invites you to a career workshop where you explore the delicate balance between passion and financial security when choosing a career. The day features interactive sessions of how to master communication skills, CV writing, digital footprints, AI in the workplace, entrepreneurship, and so much more. It's free entry, but registration is required to reserve your seat. Space are limited, so book now.
Within my heart, when I'm loving Africa.
For too many communities across Africa and the world, access to clean water remains a dream. At Africa Muslims Agency, we dig deep, reaching into the heart of the earth to fill the cups of those in need. Sponsor a water well for 16,500 Rand, or a borehole in Afghanistan for 55,000 Rand, or Africa for 65,000 Rand, or any amount. With water comes food, health, education, and growth. An ongoing reward with Africa Muslims Agency.
The Breakfast Rush, brought to you courtesy of the Willow Tin Group, at the forefront of innovation, and one of the leading competitors in the South African FMCG market.
It's your Breakfast Rush on Radio Al Ansar, now 15 minutes after 7 on this Thursday morning. Experiencing Gaza atrocities firsthand. And that is the topic of discussion. We've been watching, Nasmira, we've been watching video coming through from Gaza for many years.
Yes.
Since October 2023, the videos that have been coming out of Palestine, Gaza, West Bank, understandably in a certain sort of bias, and wait for me, hang on for a second before you scream. I say bias because it's highlighting something that none of us want to see. It's putting on this huge spotlight on something that absolutely none of us want to bear witness to. We have to bear witness to it because that is what's happening in that part of the world. Buildings are falling on babies, not because a building felt like falling on a baby, but because it was bombed.
Unborn babies are losing their lives together with their moms.
Yeah. And these atrocities daily.
Absolutely.
The genocide for almost 2 years now.
Yeah,
if
2 years
not 2 years now.
and a lifetime. There are people that are from Palestine that are older than Israel's existence. To put it in perspective.
To put that into exactly. So over the last 2 days, 3 days, we've been keeping the spotlight on what's happening in Gaza, but also what's happening from the flotilla, the Sumud flotillas, right? Keeping the spotlight on there. We know that they left Tunis yesterday, and inshallah, they're well on their way again.
I mean, and we are connecting with people on the ground.
Yeah.
Live information straight from where it's happening to you. We're not speaking to somebody that's coming and saying, listen,
this is what I
this
heard.
didn't happen.
Yeah.
There was no drone and whatever else.
People are saying that, but anyway, let's move the conversation still in line with what's taking place in Palestine, in Gaza, experiencing atrocities firsthand. There are not too many people that can say this. They've experienced it, lived through it, did what they could, helped as much as they can, and continuing to do so. So today we are honored to be joined by Professor Bob Bagri, a highly respected surgeon and activist. Beyond his distinguished medical career here at home, the good professor has been deeply involved in humanitarian and educational efforts in Gaza as a member of the Oxford Gaza group. He has had the unique privilege of visiting Gaza to teach, share knowledge, and work alongside his surgical colleagues and students there. This morning, we'll be hearing about his first-hand experiences in Gaza. Professor, good morning to you and welcome to the Breakfast Rush on Radio Al Ansar.
Thank you for having me. Morning. Is it Nishal? How do I say your name?
Yes, sir. It is Nishal. And let me reciprocate. Is it Bagri or Bagri?
Bagri.
Thank you, sir. So, Professor, thank you again for joining us. And to begin with, what first drew you to becoming involved with the Oxford Gaza group?
It was a long time ago. I migrated to Britain away from apartheid South Africa, joined the ANC in 1986 back in London, and then did all my training over there. Came back to the new South Africa in 1996, 10 years later. And human rights were obviously an important part of one's life. And I had been raised on the colonial history of Palestine, which was the Israeli version, essentially, Anglo-Israeli version of that. And in Oxford, we had a group which didn't have a name in those days, but there were a bunch of doctors who used to go off and teach students in Gaza just because that's what one did. And so I trained there. And then when I was back here, I went to Gaza with my colleagues and friends from Oxford. And that's how we all got started.
Having worked in sophisticated and academic surgical departments in several countries, what motivated you to extend your work into a humanitarian context like Gaza?
Well, I think we had the context of South Africa having apartheid and also the brainwashing which my social class underwent in apartheid about what was really going on. And then one became aware of human rights really all around the world. And Gaza was a place which was close to my heart. My son was an activist, still is, and he ran Palestinian Solidarity Forum in UCD campus. And gradually, in fact, I became better educated, and it was a no-brainer to go to Gaza and work there. And what's extraordinary about Gaza is the quality that Gaza had before October the 7th. Look, they were constantly being Israel would constantly drop rockets and bombs into critical structures, such as the sewage and the water purification and the hospitals. They just drop one in every now and again just to remind the Gazans who was boss. But the Gazans just got on with their everyday life, and life was pretty normal. They created a new normal for them, and so the universities all functioned. Gaza has one of the highest literacy rates in the world. I think it's number 2. And so this was a highly educated, motivated people who were locked up and but made the best of it. And it was a joy working with them. One needs to understand that Palestine was a colony, British colony, so was South Africa. So our medical structures are identical. So when I taught students in Gaza, it was like walking to Groote Hospital and teaching students there. The structures were the same. And of course, over there, they teach in English. So the students could understand what we said. So it was a very easy switch, much easier than, for instance, me going to teach students in, say, Pakistan, because they wouldn't have the language.
Language, indeed. Can you share with us what it was like the very first time that you'd visited Gaza? What struck you the most about the people and the medical community there?
I think what struck me the most was the warmth and the normality and the beauty. One swam on the beach in Gaza when we were there. Normally, you couldn't swim in Gaza because the water was polluted with black sewage because Israel, as I say, bombed the sewage. But Israel hadn't bombed the sewage for 6 months, so suddenly the water cleaned up a bit, and we went swimming in the ocean in Gaza. We went eating in the bazaars. Our colleagues invited us into their homes. This was a beautiful culture. And what struck me was, nobody hates Israel. They didn't hate Israel. They didn't hate Jews. There was no real hatred. There was for sure a resentment and an anger, but there wasn't sort of murderous intent. And of course, as we know, the president of Israel has gone on record as saying that, it's an entire nation responsible. It's not true. This rhetoric about civilians were not aware, were not involved. It's absolutely not true. That's what Herzog said. Well, if President Herzog had come along with me, he would have seen the people there are absolutely not responsible for anything. They're just getting on with their normal lives. Of course, within there's Hamas, and Hamas is a resistance armed wing of the Hamas normal government, which runs the place. But the people are just like normal people here. People want to lead the same simple lives that most people want to lead in their small communities. So one was struck by the beauty. I think one of the stories I tell about Gaza, which has broken my heart, was that the Great Mosque of Gaza is a remarkable place. It's called the Great Amari Mosque. Go and Google the pictures; you can still find of it. It was built on a Philistine shrine, which had been BC, and then it was built in as a Byzantine Christian church in the 3rd century. When the Arab Empire took over in the 7th century, it was turned into a mosque. Then it was destroyed with an earthquake, and then it was rebuilt. And then the Crusaders took it over, and then the Muslims took it over, and the British bombed it in World War I, blah, blah. But this place was filled with incredible spirit, extraordinary architecture, with a history of 2,000 years. And it's now rubble. It's just rubble. And that's the heartbreak. I went, just to tell you a quick story, I went up to address the International Court of Justice, the ICJ legal team, and I presented them with a slideshow for an hour on Gaza before the genocide. And at the end of it, they were shell-shocked. They said, we're so caught up with lawfare and the legal side of this case against Israel. None of us had any idea that Gaza was this place which looks like you're showing us in these photographs. Beautiful places with a harbor, fish farms, fishermen markets, children, and just normal life. And we used to go jogging along the waterfront early in the morning before we went off to lectures, and there'd be pop-up gyms, and one would hop into one and do a bit of sparring with someone for a joke, and the women were all walking along the waterfront. It was a normal life, except when Israel did it. But no one could get in, no one could get out. If we had a promising young doctor, and we said, "Come on, I'll get a job for you to come and train for 2 years in a subspecialty in Oxford or in Cape Town," they were never allowed out. So that was the sad thing about it. But the whole overwhelming impression was as a society who had learned to cope. And when you went into their homes, you'd see hanging in the hallways the great key. From 1948, from the Nakba. This was the key to their home. They took the front door, their key, when the Israelis shooed them out their house, thinking, "Oh, we'll be back in a few weeks." And there we are, 70-odd years later. The key still hangs in the doorway, in the hallway, and great-grandpa is still alive, or grandma is still alive. The people who were shooed out of their houses in 1948.
Professor, briefly, many of us only hear about Gaza through news headlines. From your personal experience, what do you wish South Africans and the wider world understood about Gaza and its people?
I think the thing we face in the world is that a brown life or a black life is not as important as a white life, and that we understand. And when one, if you, as you all know, if this was happening in France, the whole world would be clamping down on it. But they're not doing that because they believe all Arabs are terrorists. Everyone thinks that all Arabs are terrorists, and the West does have that opinion. And surveys have just published big surveys out of Britain right now. While everyone wants the genocide to stop, they see Arabs as a dangerous race, and it's just pure ignorance. And so one would love to see a change about that. One of the best ways for anyone to inform themselves is to go and read Ilan Pappé. I would encourage everyone to read Ilan Pappé. He's a Jew. He grew up in Israel. He is an Israeli. And as a young man, he did a master's in history in Jerusalem. But in those days, it was much less what it is like now. And his academic supervisor was an Arab who said, go and dig in the archives. And 5 years later, he published a book called The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine. And Ilan Pappé has continued to be an extremely erudite and educated voice for the Middle East and the most authoritative history about it. He's now a professor in a British university. So I would love people to read. I'd love people to watch movies like The Village Under the Forest. That is an absolutely superb movie. It's just been shown again in Cape Town. The Village Under the Forest, you can get it online. And the other movies, if you want to get up to date, Al Jazeera has produced some extraordinary movies. We had a public showing of one here a few months ago, which is The Crimes They Tried to Bury, which is all the lies about El Shifa and the mass burials they did and dishonored burials. So one would like people to just try and become better informed. And that, I guess, would be my major wish.
Yes.
And to just to regard all human life as equal.
Oh, absolutely. Professor, I want to thank you for your time this morning and bringing this information and the names of these resources to our listeners as well. Thank you once
I'd like
again.
to finish with one last quote. May I give you one last quote?
Please
Which
do.
is the Sumud flotilla, the global Sumud flotilla is sailing now. We've got a South African boat there, and they've been looking for videos of support. And one of the great lines which I have learned recently and heard recently and love to promote is, from the river to all the seas, Palestine will be free. What that does is it takes the accusations of anti-Semitism out of from the river to the sea, which the Zionists will say, you just want to kick us out and destroy Israel. That's simply not true if you read Hamas statements. But from the river to all the seas implies that this country has the right to be free all over the world. Palestinians should be able to go to all the seas of the world. Currently, they're locked up. They can't go in. They can't get out. And certainly, the Gazan population has been locked in and been unable to get locked out for decades. So I'll leave you with that thought: from the river to all the seas, Palestine will be free. Thank you.
The Breakfast Rush, brought to you courtesy of the Willow Tin Group, at the forefront of innovation and one of the leading competitors in the South African FMCG market.
There's nothing quite like the taste of